Coming up, baseball, the iconic sport around the world and iconic for the Pueblos of the Southwest. Learn about this unique history and hear from some of today's players. Plus, Canadian Premier Wab Kinew brings smiles after getting back in the Powwow circle. We have those interviews, plus headlines on the ICT Newscast.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.
Support for the ICT Newscast with Aaliyah Chavez comes from the Arizona PBS studios in Phoenix at the Walter Cronkite School of Journalism and Mass Communications at Arizona State University.
Amirawa Hopa. Thank you for joining us. I am Aaliyah Chavez. The family of Raymond Mattia, a citizen of the Tohono Nation, has announced a federal lawsuit suing U.S. Border Patrol agents for wrongful death. Mattia was shot and killed last year in front of his home when Border Patrol agents showed up responding to a 911 call about 2 possible gunshots. Body cam video shows Mattia was following commands during the incident. The U.S. Attorney's Office in Arizona did not arrest or prosecute the agents involved in the shooting. Tohono officials said in a statement, there are countless questions left unanswered by this decision. As a result, we cannot and will not accept the U.S. Attorney's decision. In addition to wrongful death, Mattia's family is suing for various crimes, including excessive force, assault, and battery negligence. We go now to Southern California, where Interior Secretary Deb Haaland is fresh off of a visit to an area some Indigenous people hope will be given a major designation. The proposed national monument, called Chuckwalla, is around 627,000 acres of public lands. It reaches from the Coachella Valley region in the west to the Colorado River in the east. The land has traditionally been the homelands of the Torres Martinez Desert Cahuilla Indians and other tribal nations. Earlier this month, Haaland visited the proposed area, hosting a roundtable with tribal leaders and meeting with local advocates. To become a national monument, President Biden would need to designate it so using the Antiquities Act, and so far he has not personally indicated support. A sacred site in St. Paul, Minnesota will soon be honored with a new visitor center. ICT's Shirley Snavy has more on construction that began last week after a groundbreaking ceremony for the Wakan Teepee Center.
Formerly called the Lower Phelan Creek Project, Wakan Teepee Iwayangapi is now a native-controlled nonprofit. It is healing the land and honoring the original inhabitants of the area. Formerly called Indian Mounds Park, it will be an interpretive center. The building will feature exhibits, classrooms, a teaching kitchen, and gardens, as well as ceremony space and a gathering area for community. It's on the west end of the Bruce Vento Nature Sanctuary, a 27-acre nature preserve, and the site of caves and burial mounds, predating European settlement by the Dakota people. The project is in partnership with the City of St. Paul.
Our board chair at the construction kickoff said, "This is land back in action." And so we are excited about that. We're excited to work with the City of St. Paul, and we're excited that they're on board.
The $13.5 million building will open in 2025. Shirley Snavy, ICT News.
Even though there are 12 Indian Health Service facilities on the Navajo Nation, some patients still have to travel more than 50 miles to receive care. Cronkite News takes us to Ganado, Arizona, where a new medical facility is hoping to expand access.
We are sort of equidistant from Albuquerque and from Flagstaff, right? We're about 2.5 hours from Albuquerque, 2.5 hours from Flagstaff. If you have someone who is sick enough to require advanced care, now you're talking about a 2.5-hour drive to the nearest tertiary center that can care for that patient.
It's very exciting to see us transferring from very dated, and some of the buildings are historical, and some of the buildings are built like in the 1930s and all the way from the 1920s. And we're moving into a state-of-the-art healthcare facility. So there's going to be this transition of and I explained it as like a time warp where we're going from one place to another, where everything is going to be literally electronic. So it'll be very different, very, very different for us. I think staffing is probably our number one challenge.
The rural situation is not for everyone, right? So you have to find that fit of the provider who wants to come to your facility and who wants to essentially make a difference. I think it takes a certain subset of provider to actually want to do the things that we have to do here and to do it well. And all the activities that we're doing in respect to the new services as well is really addressing that 10 to 15% of patients that come in with issues that we cannot immediately handle here and will need help if we didn't have the services here.
We want to be the best healthcare facility on Indian country, and how do we get there? Through quality, through patient experience, and expanding our services.
A favorite pastime is bridging communities and generations. ICT's Paris Wise has the story.
It's time for Pueblo baseball. Summertime is almost here, and that means baseball is in full swing. It's a family favorite that has been around for over 100 years and has brought together Pueblo communities across New Mexico. The Indian Pueblo Cultural Center in Albuquerque has an exhibit called Pueblo Baseball, Stitching Our Communities Together. The exhibit showcases a collection of various photos, videos, and objects from past to present teams, walking visitors through the history of the sport. I spoke with the head curator of the Cultural Center, who shared how this all began.
We know that it started around Isleta around the turn of the 20th century. And so Isleta was the first Pueblo to have a Pueblo baseball team. And around the same time, Pueblo baseball also was being played at Laguna Pueblo. So from there, you kind of see it move a little bit further west, and Pueblo baseball is being played at Acoma by 1920.
Various members from Pueblos made contributions to the exhibit, including shin guards, cleats, and other gear that is displayed to show that the tradition is continued on across generations.
So in working on this exhibition, I think one of the things that really stands out is that while there's a really healthy competition between, the different teams at the villages, everybody really recognizes that skill and talent. Everybody has a nice thing to say. If they see a good player, they're going to say that that player is really super talented. And so what we find is that people from all different generations are learning from each other on the field. What's really interesting is that the age range from teenager to the 50s, people of all different generations are out there and they're in the game. So you could have a whole family of men on the field all at one time.
From past to present, these teams are still going strong. The season begins in May and is divided into the Northern Pueblo League and the Southern Pueblo League. The vice president of the Southern Pueblo League shared insight on impacts the game has on players today.
We're trying to give the younger generation a shot that, that weren't probably provided back in the day, And, back in the day, it was just a hobby. And, you see a lot of kids now who are coming out of high school, going into college, trying to help them out with that. And, this league is that's what it's about.
As a player himself, overseeing the 16 teams in the Southern Pueblo League has brought its own lessons and reflections.
As a Native American, you have that pride to go and you want to be, into something bigger than that at a young age. And that's what I wanted to do. So, I played here a lot of the times, and just the excitement, the nervousness, and it's fun. And that's how I got into it at a young age, going to the games, watching it, and just seeing how everybody, you know, just from different tribes are all coming together, enjoying a sport that we all love.
In the Southern Pueblo League, the Santa Ana Orioles are just one example of a team carrying on this family tradition for those who came before them and for those to come.
I have 2 nephews and then a couple of cousins that actually I play with now. It's crazy because I didn't think I'd play with them. I thought I'd be done, but they're the ones that keep me going, so that's why I play. I've been in the league 20 years now, and I've played for 3 different teams, but it's been mostly the same guys, I think, pretty much. I think this is the funnest team because I'm the old guy, and these guys are all young guys, so I think this is the funnest one so far.
I come from 2 baseball players. Both my mom and my dad played in high school for teams. Went to the league. All my aunties, they played ball. All my uncles played ball. I'm still playing ball, one of them. It's like I said, baseball runs in the blood.
Teams in each league will compete in all-star games, and the winners will go head-to-head at the end for the championship. This means practices and games are competitive and can get intense.
Well, what I was told is unwritten rule. Official initiation into the league, you got to get hit at the plate. Fielding balls at second, and then the ball just came in too fast, took a crazy hop, it hit me right in my face, right on my shades. But it's all right, they're okay. The only thing I care about is my shades.
Teams hold practices throughout the week to get ready for games over the weekend, where family and friends come out to cheer them on. The Santa Ana Orioles have high hopes for this season as they have had a losing streak for some years. Regardless, playing together is the real win.
Today's game, second game of the season, Damia Orioles playing the Jemez Mets. My favorite part about being on this team is, I get to play with my close friends, cousins, brothers. It's a really big or small community over here, so you get to play with some familiar faces.
My team, they're just amazing. We try to pull through. We came with the dub. This is the first time I ever played with them, and it was actually fun. So I've never managed a team before, but this is my first time managing. It was amazing. I didn't think we were going to come pull through. They were going to, but we did. So we never made it to tourneys, so I'm trying to get to tourneys.
Paris Wise, ICT News.
We turn north now to Winnipeg, where an Indigenous birding club at the University of Manitoba is helping folks connect with nature while sharing Indigenous knowledge. APTN reporter Sierra Bettens has more from the club's weekly walk.
Female house sparrow, right there. So you just want to kind of just zone in, relax.
Spring has sprung at the University of Manitoba, and that means the raucous Canada geese have returned to their seasonal home. But if you listen closely, dozens of bird varieties can be heard. And the folks who run the university's Indigenous Birding Club are helping people tune in.
It's simple what we do. It's just connecting people and nature for all the benefits that brings. So the mental benefits, the emotional, physical, and the spiritual.
Last May, Bailey Hendry and Justin Rasmussen, both Métis, founded the U of M Indigenous Birding Club. Every Thursday, the birders meet for 90 minutes. Participants can decompress, connect with nature, and glean Indigenous knowledge of birds.
Throughout the pandemic, birding kind of just became a thing for a lot of people. And I was, talking to Justin, I was like, I feel like it would just be an awesome thing to combine the two and bring them here as an opportunity for students to engage in community, culture, and birding together.
Rasmussen holds a PhD in biological sciences and a lifelong fascination with birds. Hendry, who works at the Indigenous Student Center, started birding during the pandemic. As one of the first Indigenous birding clubs in Canada, the organizers stress the importance of community, engaging with elders, and promoting Indigenous knowledge of birds.
We've had knowledge about birds for hundreds and hundreds of years, and we also have a lot of elders in our community who hold that knowledge. So one of the things that we do and what we've done is we've brought elders from the community to do teachings about birds. There was an event that we held for people to come and harvest an eagle together, and we heard about eagle teachings and so forth. So there's lots of opportunities for them to engage, and obviously the geese agree with me.
During walks, organizers reject having a guide. Instead, they encourage participation and collaboration.
We try to change the dynamic of having one expert sharing knowledge, and instead we go out as a group as equals, and everyone has something to share, and we all learn from each other.
Coming up on their one-year anniversary, the club continues to provide a space for people to learn and just be.
When we shed our titles and just become humans out there appreciating nature, we feel that that's where real relationships can form.
Sierra Buttons, APTN National News, Winnipeg.
Languages are among our most valued resources. Ensuring that they are preserved and taught is important in Indigenous communities and here at ICT. Today, we're continuing our Language Break segment, which features Native speakers from across Turtle Island, sharing their beautiful and bold words and phrases. This week, we bring you the Hawaiian language from Kumukau'i Peralto and music from Kalani Pea.
He ali'i ka aina he kawa ke kanaka. He ali'i ka aina he kawa ke kanaka. The land is chief, man is her servant. He ali'i ka aina he kawa ke kanaka. Our land is both a responsibility and a privilege.
Tobacco is a sacred medicine for many Native Americans. However, commercial tobacco and smoking cigarettes is not. In fact, the American Indian Cancer Foundation says that American Indian and Alaska Natives have the highest rate of smoking in the country. Wyatt Pickner, a research manager at the foundation, talks with ICT producer Shirley Snavy about the issues.
A lot of that, is due to how tobacco was commercialized, and really, looking back to how a lot of our cultural practices were outlawed until the late 1970s. And so, a lot of people were going to use commercial tobacco because that was legal. And, it also doesn't seem all that long ago. And some of those habits and practices are just some of the things that people are still going to. Traditional tobacco is not always easily accessible for a lot of our communities and our relatives. And so there are efforts being made to revitalize some of that and get people access to that. But in the meantime, we do just see a lot of, use of commercial tobacco. And we know that there's still a long history of people who, have become addicted to nicotine and are using those commercial tobacco products. And so, through our efforts at ACAP, we are striving to recognize the history of tobacco in our communities and the significance that it plays in many of our lives as, Indigenous people. And how do we lift up that traditional side of it and the, viewing it as a medicine, and then also helping to encourage people to move away from commercial tobacco products, but knowing that it's not going to be, a very quick transition. And so, we have to provide accessible and intentional steps and messaging and information and resources to make that a reality for the people that we're looking to engage with. We do have a traditional tobacco website that is currently launched and available, and that is just traditionaltobacco.org. And so it provides some good information about, just like the significance and role that tobacco plays in our communities. And, also provides an opportunity for you to engage and share your own story of tobacco, because we know everyone has their own, knowledge and history and relationship with it. And so we want to be able to lift that up and embrace those sort of things. The National Cancer Institute has an initiative called the Smoke Free Initiative. And so there's a website, smokefree.gov, that lists a variety of different resources, including a smartphone application, a texting program, and some of these have been tailored for specific populations like veterans or, moms and different age groups, including teens. And so we partnered with the National Cancer Institute and the Indian Health Service, as well as some collaborators at the University of Minnesota, to tailor the texting program, the smoke-free text program, for American Indian Alaska Native populations. And so this program, the tailored version, is called Smoke-Free Native. Alaska Native people who smoke, that this isn't just a automated program that, random messages are coming. We really put a lot of thought and intention into the development of these messages, to ensure that, the people using the program, that there's a whole community that is behind, the people wanting to quit smoking, to provide that support. And we're talking through them through the text messages. We even have direct quotes from, former smokers, or other people who have been like tobacco treatment specialists, or other people from ACAF, leading and doing this work, and just like advice and support and guidance and tips and tricks. How can we incorporate ideas around land back and language, because thinking about those things are strategies to help, distract you from wanting to quit smoking, and ways to re-engage with culture, because that's one of our taglines at ACAF. ACAF is healing with culture. Quitting is not everyone's successful the first time. It might take a couple of different times to quit smoking, but I think the point being that, don't give up in that quitting journey. You sometimes have to try different methods and figure out what works for you. I think part of that process is identifying, what are your the triggers that, make you want to smoke. And working to address some of those things. And so, it's just getting started, and not giving up.
Last year, Wab Kinew made history after he was elected Premier of Manitoba, becoming the first Anishinaabe person to ever be Premier of a Canadian province. Half a year later, and Kinew is back in the Powwow circle. Last week, up to 15,000 people attended the Manitowabe Festival in Winnipeg, where Kinew hosted a men's chicken dance special. APTN was there and has all of the sights and sounds.
Powwow specials are done when something good happens to you. Maybe you're the head dancer at a powwow, or some sort of milestone in your life. And so for our family to go through the election last year and to have the great honor of serving the people of Manitoba as a premier, just seemed like an important time to give back. It's tons of fun. Chicken dance is like a high energy, exciting style. You saw some battling going on out there between the dancers. I grew up dancing powwow and singing, and then I'd say I got back into it maybe about 7 years ago or something like that. So it's just what we do for fun,
When I see the young kids dancing out there on the dance floor, singing on our stages, it's a reminder of why we have to keep this way of life going and going and going.
I'm
I'm really excited to be here because when I just moved to Canada and when I started my journey through learning all this Indigenous culture, Native culture, and I visited my first powwow, I always had a comment, you must visit Winnipeg, you must visit Manitohapi. I didn't know it's called Manitohapi. I always said Winnipeg powwow, and I know that it's a large community here.
It was a super memorable experience, and then we had a mix of like some of the OG chicken dancers, you could say, and then some of the young guns, and then some of the guys who are just really well known. So over the 4 years, we hope to be able to do 2 years of men's categories, 2 years of women's categories, and then just kind of just have the opportunity to give thanks in a way that makes sense for the Powwow Trail.
The first place dancer for the Chicken Dance Special was given a cash prize and a Wab Kinew belt. Premier Kinew added that in First Nations culture, you should share your success with the rest of the community when you are successful in life. What a beautiful sentiment there. And that's a slice of our Indigenous world. For all the latest, visit us at ictnews.org. From all of us in the newsroom, stay safe, my relatives.
This program is made possible by the Corporation for Public Broadcasting, a private corporation funded by the American people.